Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Omri and today the deck I'm going to be playing is Rakdos Midrange. You may have heard it called Rakdos Self-Mill, Rakdos Kroxa, Rakdos whatever. The core of the deck is escape cards plus Self-Mill. So the primary ones are Kroxa as the escape card, very powerful card of course. Rogue got banned. This is another Titan, it's also pretty broken. And trying to cast it around turn 4 or turn 5, but I mean, you can just cast it multiple times as well, and it's really just one of the best cards in the deck. Ox of Agonas is also an escape card, but it's much less good, and it's really only a 1-up against rogues. The enablers are Timuret Calls the Dead, and Mire Trident primarily, as they literally mill you, but also Rankle, Master of Pranks, and Liliana give you symmetrical discard. Magmatic Channel lets you cycle through cards, and deck also has a bunch of spells that go to the yard, which help with escape. So, what's the rest of the deck? It's mostly really just removal. Removal. It's got a Nighthawk Scavenger as a backup threat, as well as Rankle and Liliana. But, I mean, everything is basically just efficient, cheap, and removal in this deck. Then, of course, mana base-wise, for Fabled Passage, for Temple of Malice, Castle Lochthwain, some modal DFCs, because they're kind of busted, Aggro Mauling, and Shadow Skull Smashing being the best among them. And onto the sideboard. So, do Cling to Dust. Basically, to Cling to Dust, the opponent's Cling to Dust. That's really just it. But it's also got synergy because this is, after all, a self-mill deck. 3 to rest for decks with non-creature spells like Control, stuff like that. Soul Guide Lantern for the Mirror and like a bunch of other graveyard decks in the format right now. Agonizing Remorse, it's like Duress but more expensive and slightly better, and also worse as a card. 2 Skyclave Shade, just basically as an infinite attacker. It's good against Doom Foretold, it's good against opponents that are attacking. Scorching Dragonfire is removal, it exiles stuff like Anax, and also 3 damage is really where you want to be. For 2 mana, at least in red, because black destroys. 1 Shredded Sails, mostly for the Great Henge, and 1 Ox of Agonas for rogues, and for grind your matchups when the draw 3 is really, really good. Okay, that's the deck. Let's get into some games. Okay, match number 1 against Scottie Pippen, who has been really trashing his rank, apparently. So, mono black, you say. I'm going to send it back, as the opponent's not playing a creature deck is going to be quite bad. Not having red mana is obviously a downside because the top of the deck exists. Already emoting, I see. I'm going to bottom Ox of Agonas. It's better in the graveyard than in your hand, and I would really rather mill it with Timuret Calls the Dead. It's going to be shuffled back in after this Fabled Passage anyway, which I'm going to do now because, of course, land enters tapped. So this means I'm still actually just going to go for the Fabled Passage within my deck. There's no like Mayhem Devil stuff that incentivizes me to keep them uncracked. And actually, the more modern example would be Landfall, because it's just all everyone's doing these days. Minimize Prophecy probably means my opponent's on the blue-white Yorion deck, though interesting not to see it as a companion, so they could be mono blue. I mean, my opponent's very likely to be playing a less optimal deck, so I don't really know, but I'm not super scared of Minimize Prophecy. At least I'll get an idea of what's going on once they name their card. Would love to have like a Duress right now to just take the card they name. I assume it's not a creature, though it could be something like an Illyrios. What is going on? Okay, I officially don't know what's going on. My opponent is doing a thing, and that's really all I can say. They're apparently mono blue, but I mean, you know, who knows at this point. Okay, well, if they're playing a Wave Break Hippocamp, I'll just pay an enormous beater. And actually has to do nothing with them playing Wave Break Hippocamp. I just want to play an enormous beater. And that's Kroxa on turn 4, which is really, really good. And that's why Timuret Calls the Dead is one of the best cards in the deck. And I get to attack for 2 as well. Mono blue doesn't really have Wrath, so I think I'm in a really good spot. So So my opponent is really just playing mono blue things. Probably like mono blue trade binder or mono blue cards I own that have the rare symbol and some other uncommons. Ooh, they've got a So Tiny or an Unsummon. Interesting. Well, So Tiny isn't super good against Kroxa, but if they got an Unsummon effect, I mean, that's pretty good. Pick up a camp. Oh, they're probably saving it, I see. Well, I mean, card advantage, like, there's a good way to combat Kroxa, I will say. You get to scry a little bit. Bottom, don't need either of those. I assume my opponent doesn't have an exile effect considering they're playing mono blue. I'm gonna play around pay 1 effects. The land thing, like sensor effects. 4 spikes for the more entrenched players. Okay, so Kroxa just gets bounced. It's pretty fine by me as long as they don't have an answer to this Rankle. I'm going to get to trade off one of my 2/2s for their Wave Break Camp, which seems pretty good. And I'll be able to discard this Shadow Skull Smashing. So I'm just going to trade off because obviously the Wave Break Camp is going to die anyway, and that is of course the right play. So since my opponent's drawing cards, I'll draw a card myself. Don't think that fighting my opponent on card advantage is a particularly good idea. So I'll just go for the card for myself, considering they're playing mill now, okay? So a whole lot of synergy between these cards. One spell, one instant speed thing, card draw triable. Yeah, I can see why they're 88% and they technically knew what this card is because they're a stupid thing. Fair enough. Alright, let's just get in with Rankle. And another upside about drawing cards, of course, my opponent loses life, and seeing as I'm the beatdown, that favors me. I mean, my opponent isn't exactly crushing my life total, so I was right to play around Jawari Disruption. I'm so smart. See, I really do. See, that's the card I was referring to. Couldn't remember its name, but whatever. So my opponent could have a counterspell here, but I'm gonna get to cast a couple of Kroxas. And when I say a couple, I do mean a couple, as that's another card in the graveyard, and that's another card in the graveyard, and Rankle will be another card in the graveyard, and this Temple of Malice will find me another card to put in the graveyard. I mean, you can really see what this deck's all about. Bouncing a haste creature. Very nice. My opponents managed to waste all their card advantage that I gave them, and then they gave themselves. They're down to 3 life as well, so that probably is a land or something good. Which was pretty obvious already, but that's fine. I mean, now at least it's impossible for me to be wrong, you know? And they probably drew a land or a spell off the top as well, so my opponent definitely has 2 cards in their hand that I can confirm. Okay, so it was a land, so I was already right on 1 count. I'll just play a haste creature. Your go. Okay, opponent mills me, that's pretty fine actually. Don't mind getting milled, seeing as I'm the self-mill deck. And I've got 3 lethal threats, a removal spell. But no, that was actually a pretty good play for my opponent. The land was really going to stabilize him there. Alright, so against an opponent who's playing bad cards, I probably want all of these for my removal, because I can hold on to a couple Bone Crushers, but Murder Shard is definitely going out. Heartless Act is definitely going out. What else? I could actually probably go down to Bone Crushers. Cling to Dust, don't Cling to Dust. They've got no graveyard synergies. I've already got 6 escape cards, that's probably fine. Oh wait, I actually probably want to get rid of Blood Chief's Thirst. Hold on to the Bone Crushers because the bodies are more relevant than the Murderous Rider. And the only creature I've seen from them so far is Wave Pick Epic Camp. I assume they're not playing very many more. And the Bone Crusher Giant is just like a solid creature. Actually, if they're playing artifacts, I do like having out to a extremely expensive, pretty broken, really bad artifact. So what should I cut? I'll go down a Bone Crusher, since past me was probably right. Could also go down the Spikefield Hazard, as it's unlikely to be anything but just a tapped land, but I don't really like going down lands, especially in this deck, which is kind of pushing it in terms of land count already. This is a very good hand. I get to go turn 1 Duress into Magmatic Channeler, into Timrat Calls the Dead, into more cards. So, my opponent has a hand full of creatures, but on the bright side, they can't cast anything, which is pretty good, I assume. So I'm just going to go like this. If they play a Palladium Mirror, I will crush their hopes and dreams. You love to see it. Ooh, and I get to dig for a land. Perfect, a land. I just realized I don't know why I did that, as I already had a tapped land, but whatever. That's just being me random. No, let me try that again. That's just me being random. Wow, I'm so random. I'm going to edit that out of the video. Just a note for future me. Suspiciously mute that part. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, let's hit a land. Red source, actually. Well, close enough. Right, so what am I doing with this land? Probably casting it, and then probably casting Skyclave Shade, which might actually get countered, which would be pretty funny, honestly. Oh, rather it get countered because no. Okay, well that's fine. I'll just jam Kroxa because countering Kroxa is pretty fine by me. And I don't think there's really much point in running a Magmatic Channeler into an assured counterspell. I'd rather get my Kroxa countered anyway, even though I do have the Magmatic Channeler to discard it. Right, so my opponent might just divination with upsides and significant downsides, you never know. Freeze up on my creatures. Okay, so my opponent's worried about their life total, that's interesting. I'm worried about getting them dead, so that actually sort of makes sense. Right, Mr. Auto Tapper. I'm going to lead on Magmatic Channeler to avoid suspicion. Mill myself. Exile Timrat Calls the Dead, because I don't like exiling escape cards. I'll just get in for 1 because why not? And pass the turn. Pretty good spot I'm in, I think. My opponent is admittedly playing, to say it lately, a suboptimal deck, but still going to soundly crush them, which I always enjoy. You know, crushing newer players is. I'm honestly not sure how my opponent got to Mythic. Like, if they got to Mythic, casting Gadwick in the same deck as Crawling Barons, I just realized I don't have enough cards to escape Ox of Agonis, and I look like an idiot. Then I'm simultaneously impressed and disappointed for my opponents, or for their opponents, because he's my opponent. They're my opponent, Scotty. I don't know. Maybe it's like Pippin Longstocking, and it's actually a girl, or it could be literally anything. Frog. It's probably going to offend someone. Right. So Castle Lockplane is a good card. Luckily for me, Rankle is a good card as well. And then I think we're safe to just do this. Could just do this. Seems pretty good to me. My opponent gets to eat one of my creatures, trade for one of my creatures and take a billion gazillion. And then I'll just draw a card, discard a card. Can't exactly discard a card, but I will draw a card and put my opponent to 3, which I'll have to see. I probably played badly, considering I should have like oxed first, or no, actually no, I played perfectly. I played perfectly. Rip Kroxa, but it's fine. I'll draw 3. I'll find another one. Kroxa just tends to appear in your graveyard when you're playing this deck. Ooh, and a duress. You'll have to see it. Don't really care at this point. I'm worried about a board wipe, but I'm also not worried about a board wipe, so I'm not worried. Right, so that's the game. Well, that wasn't a very hard one, I will say, but it's okay. I advanced like 10 in Mythic. Ooh, top 168. You'll have to see it. It's probably like the 3rd time I've said you'll have to see it, so I can't say it for the rest of the video. That's unfortunate. You appreciate to visualize it. Yes. Okay, well, let's game 1 on to the next one. That was actually pretty fast. You won't know it because I've already edited out the wait time because I'm just like a very good editor, and those things just come naturally to me. But that being said, time for match number 2, and I'm again playing mono black, which seems rather unfortunate because half my hand is red. So I think I'm just gonna hit the mulligan button. So got my colors this time, which is nice. Blood Chief's Thirst can go to the bottom because I'm playing against Yorion. Hopefully I can find a target for my Bonecrusher Giant, but that's extremely unlikely, as the only thing is Skyclave Apparition. Well, it's a solid 2-drop, so I'll keep that on top. And I'm just hoping to mill a Kroxa, and if this Hagar Mauling stays 3 mana, that would be pretty nice. You never know. Never mind. And a Bonecrusher Giant target. Okay, I stand corrected on all fronts. If only I could edit that part out of the video. I just look like the smartest person ever. Because I would, just, actually, well, people probably do this, but you, record something and you just, like, watch it back, and then you watch it back again, and you know everything that's going to happen, so you just say everything before it happens, and you look like an absolute genius, except that's effort. And effort is bad. I could play Bonecrusher, which is probably better, but I could also play Timorant Call of the Dead, which is definitely better because I get to cast Kroxa sooner, and that's always good. Also because it's better against Skyclave Apparition. While my opponent doesn't seem to have double white, they could also have double white pretty easily, so no. This is a little bit worse against Shatter of the Sky, I will admit. Yeah, and now I already got value out of my Timorant Call of the Dead, rather than had they just Banishing Lighted my Bonecrusher Giant, I would have just been straight up sad. So I'll do a little mill myself again. Crap. Well, that kind of sucks. Well, I'll play Agadeem's Awakening because I'll probably have to remove Yorion, and I'm a ways away from that card being relevant considering I've got 0 creatures in the graveyard and only 4 lands in play. And it's kind of sad that I don't have double red because the best card in my deck is double red, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. Well, this one got a little bit less value than the last one, but better than nothing or something. And this Heartless Act means I can play this Hagar Mauling out as a land. I'm unlikely to need more than a couple removal spells, and I mean, I'm probably going to be casting multiple spells in a turn at some point. Lands on the battlefield is always good. I wonder if I should be talking louder. Probably should have prepared better. Well, my opponent is just removal tribal. Good thing is, exiling those Banishing Lights with Yorion does not seem like a winning play for my opponent. Just get in, and then I think I'll just cast Marchite and Bone Crusher Giant rather than like going for the Stomp because I'll draw a card when they shatter, and that'll hopefully hit me a red source, and then this Marchite will mill me a Kroxa, and I'll be able to Kroxa and remove their Yorion, and life will be good. Weird flex, but okay. It's honestly quite bad card against me. If it's not hitting a Kroxa, didn't need those. Could really use Castle Lockdown. It might be my ideal draw because it just is really huge in this kind of matchup. Probably more removal from my opponent. Yup. Sure, like seems a little bit excessive, but my opponent has removed 4 permanents. And they've only 2 for 1 themselves once and a half ish. Okay. That deserves a nice. That definitely deserves a nice. Right, and I'm just stuck drawing all lands. If I ever draw a Kroxa or an Ox, I win the game on the spot, but it's just how it be sometimes. I'm not gonna Heartless Active 3-1. Castle Lockthorn, like, when you want it, you really want it, and then when it's bad, it's really bad because, you know what? No, because that's also a card and a Brazen Barrow in their hand. I'm just gonna remove that. Screw you. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, please. It's 2 cards in the graveyard, plus an enormous beater. That Elspeth Conquest deck is really pretty useless. Unfortunately, my opponent will be able to start looping Yorion, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, which is probably next turn, or the turn after that, depending on what my opponent decides to do. They do get to flick this gas casket and hit my Kroxa, which is kind of sad, but I'll get something else back. Ooh, they had a Thassa discarded, so 2 very good cards in the bin. I mean, my opponent's deck is certainly sweet. I do like it. I'm planning to try it out myself at some point. Right, it says Baron gets bounced, and I'm gonna get my Bone Crusher Giant back. Sure. So, I wonder if Shredded Sails is good. Honestly, maybe. Am I really going to have to Blood Chief Thirst the Baron because the Yorion's going to be in their hand? It's pretty annoying. Well, I would love a second Bone Crusher Giant at this point. Oh, wait, no, just kidding. Get wrecked. Boom. Didn't even bounce their Yorion. What a player. And, I'm just going to play this mountain out. I've got a lot of symmetrical discard, and there are certainly cards that would lead to me needing the mana. Don't think it's particularly oh wait, shoot, no. That's not that good actually. Well, my opponent's on 5 life to be fair. Okay, so any relevant card is quite relevant. Unfortunately my opponent's like exiled all my things. Sad face. Oh shoot, Omen of the Sea is actually really good for them. Finds them a Yorion, finds them other blink effects. At least they can't cast a Yorion this turn. Hopefully I'll be able to. Please don't be a counterspell. Are you kidding me? Okay, good. If it's an Omen of the Sun, I will literally let it resolve. Oh wow, very threatening. Yeah, but now I get a 3/3, so you're wrecked. Unfortunately, I still don't get to exile Kroxa, but good news is, if this Liliana dies, then I get to cast Kroxa. But this Liliana doesn't die. Not only do I get to cast Kroxa, but I also get to have a Liliana in play. So that's good. At the cost of the card in my hand, of course, depending on what it is, but playing at the land, playing at the Yorion, that's actually kind of rude. It's actually quite bad for me, in fact, because that means I don't necessarily get to cast a thing, which is always sad. Okay, Baron's gone. Okay, so I'm back to needing a relevant card. I knew that element, unless I'm not going to find them a Yorion. And then, interesting to see what they bounce. Probably the 3-3. Yeah. I'm pretty lucky that they don't get to bounce the Yorion because I'd be under too much pressure. Because once they get that loop going and they get to like Omen of the Sea every turn, it's not great. And they technically get to Birth of Meletis every turn, but I'm fine with them getting Infinite Planes. Oh, I would love Liliana and play right now. Nope, 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 nope. That doesn't go to the graveyard. You know what? I'll attack with Kroxa, see what happens. Or Bone Crusher Giant, rather. And then hopefully I get to attack with Kroxa in the future, but you never know. Right, now they get to get a 0-4 wall, which is another blocker. I go to 9, which is actually sort of worrying. Opponents somehow managed to trade 1-for-1 with me, and then draw less lands, except they're like a 35 land deck, plus 4 Birth of Meletis. That is, of course, considering that they're running 80 cards, but of course you do. Right, well they're on 5, so if I draw Kroxa, that's just most likely game, or at least hopefully game. That's actually quite good, but probably not good enough. To be fair, I really need to get to casting this Kroxa. Non-creature spells cost 2 more, which is unlikely to be relevant, but also likely enough to be relevant. I mean, it's just added value, so it's bad either way. Another Skyclave Apparition. How about a Bone Crusher Giant off the top? No, just kidding. That would be good. How about... Okay, so... How about Timuret Calls the Dead off the top? Actually, that works as well, you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 mana to work with, so if I want to cast Kroxa this turn, what? But then we'll get back Yorion and start exiling. Oh, that's actually perfect. Right. Oh, shoot. It's not perfect at all. Stupid Elspeth Conqueror's Death is just ruining my day. You hate to see it. Now this game just ends. Could have done it for X=1 and then God my Kroxa, but that's just so bad because when I get to flicker this Skyclave Apparition with Yorion, and then everything turns to a 3-3, and then everything disappears once it's a 3-3. Feels bad. At least I can escape Kroxa next turn, but they've got Yorion going, and that's bad. And they're probably going to find something to flicker Yorion because I've got like 15 draw steps and like 50 more scries. This game is pretty much over, but not over enough for me to actually scoop, which kind of sucks because I sort of want to scoop, but I won't because I want to win. Because I gotta preserve that mythic ranking. And to be fair, like, clock could be relevant. If the clock does end up being relevant, probably be like sped up or removed from the video or its own whole video or something, I don't know, because it's a really long time, but if I win game 2, could be relevant. Right, so Kroxa. Not much to decide on in terms of what I want to exile for obvious reasons. Yeah, so I'll cast this big boy, and my opponent gets to discard a card. It's a pretty good one. Right. And then what I'm going to do is actually not cast Rankle. In this way, I can try to bait my opponent into attacking with Yorion. So that is 4 mana next turn, but I'll still have 5 mana for my draw step. And if they do attack and like draw land or something, I mean that's lethal. With the Kroxa trigger, like that is 7 damage. Oh no, upkeep scry. That's worrying. Right. Well, that's just effectively an upkeep scry, except much cheaper. One top. Okay, well, it's kind of a good play for my opponent. They want to draw a card because I have to block, but I guess they value. Yeah, now I'm down to 2, and that's the game. Yikes. Oh well. So yeah, I'm literally dead, right? Is there anything I can draw? Miracle's dead, or Oval Spell, Bone Crusher Giant. No, I'm just straight up dead. I'll scoop. Right, so game 2. Let's see. I can ask Morris, Duress, Skyclave Shade. Definitely don't want Scorching Dragonfire. Should probably bring in the 2 Cling to Dusts and the Ox of Agonas. So out 2 Bloodchief's Thirst. Get out, 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 out. One of these. Probably 2 of these. How about you 2 idiots? How about 1 of you and then 1 more of you? And that seems pretty good. Yeah. So after that extremely detailed explanation of sideboarding, we're heading into game number 2, and I've actually just remembered that I said that I would finish recording by 15 minutes from now, so that kind of sucks. I would have scooped earlier if I remembered that, but I'll just have to deal with that. Right, Magmatic Channeler. Next turn I get discard Skyclave Shade, play a land from exile, and then cast Skyclave Shade, or potentially Duress. Hopefully something I can play rather than just losing value, but Skyclave Shade's actually great with Magmatic Channeler. It's one of those synergies that doesn't come up that often because Skyclave Shade is in the sideboard, but when it does, it's really good. And a little bit unfortunate. Oh no, I'm just definitely casting Terminal Dead. Yeah. Skyclave Shade can come back next turn or something, I don't know. Temporarily relieved from duty, as they say. And my opponent's got an Omen of the Sea, called it now, I'll edit it out if I'm wrong. Sweet, I get to exile a Bone Crusher Giant. Suddenly aware of the top of my head, which is a really odd thing to say, but it's true. And I need to fill the silence somehow, so now you're aware of my head too. You're welcome. I don't know why I'm not moving or talking. Next turn I'll cast some cards. That's a good plan. Right, so I think I'll activate Magmatic Channeler and try to find something relevant. That is certainly something relevant, but how relevant? And the answer is very relevant. It's a good card, so what can I say? Perfect to get to exile the Bone Crusher Giant, and not something I'd like to use for later. And then I'll get in with a 2-2. It's a little bit unfortunate that I'm on single red, I've been single spelling. That's a really odd block. My opponent must be worried about their life total. Oh, they hit a land? Come on. So rude. Right, so I'm going to mill half my deck, which is always good. Ooh, and I'm going to get to cast something. A Kroxa, it seems. I think I can exile the old Ox. There's another one in my deck. I'll find it. Right. Doesn't matter because I'm going to be shuffling. And honestly, you know what? Casting Kroxa is actually probably wrong. I'm just going to Agonizing Remorse, see if I can take their answer to it. And then start putting more pressure on the board. Seems like a good plan. Either way, they can bounce it, as I'm now aware, so I'm going to be doing a whole lot. And I just want to get this game over with before my opponent recovers from their mana screw. Well, that's a really good draw. Probably the best draw in my opponent's deck, so that kind of sucks. But I think I'll survive. The question is, will I win? I'm already halfway through my deck, so hopefully I can win. It'd be pretty embarrassing if I went halfway through my deck and then didn't win. And I'm already missing the Ox, which is sad. Right, gonna exile my Shade. I mean, no Shade, but that's kind of rude. Right, that's very useless. You're also useless, idiots. So, let's do a little bit of all attack. Seeing as my opponent will cast Thassa, probably going to use Murderous rather than cast it, rather than going for Kroxa, because Skyclave Apparition taking my Kroxa is sad. If they do a little bit of ambitious blocking, you never know. Cool, well, I'm very happy with that trade, and I'm just going to do this. My opponent's got a wall next turn, which it's a wall, to be sure. I would have Lethal if it weren't for that dang blasted wall. Except not because of this Brazen Borrower, but for the purpose of theatrics. My opponent notably is missing double blue, but does have triple white and keeps drawing double white cards that cost 3 mana that start with Sky and end with Clave Apparition, so there is that. Okay, well, let's do a little bit of attacking, I say. We do be attacking, though. Right, my opponent takes 6, and then I escape Kroxa. Does a lot of croaking, I hear. That's really bad. Please don't hurt me. Who am I kidding? You can't hurt me. You're stuck at home. Watching me. Get wrecked. Discards Baron. So the question is, do I play our land or do I not? That is the question. Now I'm quoting Shakespeare. So if I do play a land, I get 2 Shatterskull Smashing for 5 next turn. I'm still quoting Shakespeare, by the way. My opponent plays Thassa. But yeah, I think this is better on the battlefield because I have things to do that require mana. That life gain is annoying. And there's that blue source, but I think that means my opponent is dead, so that's pretty fine. Yeah, my opponent is in fact dead. So just barely managed to win convincingly. But my opponent was on the draw and did miss land drops. Okay, that's interesting. Interesting. Probably a stream sniper. Monkas. Oh, I'm an idiot. Let it be known that I am an idiot. At least my opponent's on 0 cards. But yeah, I could have won this game. Like, or rather, I could have won this game earlier because I am going to win the game. Yeah, okay. And my opponent straight up scooped. To be fair, they were dead if they had anything but Shadow of the Sky, and they were dead if they had Shadow of the Sky, so can't exactly blame them. I'm actually gonna get one of you in because that performance last game was pretty nice, and that's it. That's it. Is that it? Yes, that is. That is in fact it. Bunker's Giant's actually like straight gas, surprisingly, for the control deck. But I mean, Bone Crusher Giant being straight gas is not something particularly new, I will say. It's something like the most played card in Standard right now. Or maybe not, but it was before the Clover ban, at least. 117 out of 128 copies in the Grand Finals, and I know that because I have nothing else to do with my life. And while my opponent decides whether they're keeping their hand, I am also going to decide. And the question is, do I keep or not? I am rambling. No, I can't do that. No breathing out or airplane noises. Skyland will help me find a low land. Castline Clan is one of my better cards. I think I'll just rely on my draw step, which means I'm going to lose the game, but it's still the correct play. I think I'm going to do it again. Number 4. Screw it. You'll love to see it. Well, that's actually a good draw, but could really use a land, like, badly, because if I don't play anything on turn 2, and my best play on turn 3 is a 2-drop, I'm going to lose, which is unfortunate. Oh, well, I guess my opponent's going to be doing the same thing, but... Ooh. Okay, well, do we go for pressure, or do we go for hand disruption? I think, a wise man once said, pressure is better than hand disruption because pressure increases over time because of the amount of... No, that's already too long-winded. Right, and immediately punished. Nice. Well, at least I get to play Bone Crusher Giant and then draw a land next turn. And then I'll get to double spell, regardless if it's a black land or not. Or rather, a red land or not, except unless it's tapped land. So, hopefully it's not a tapped land. If I draw a Spikefield Hazard, I will throw a chair. My opponent's on a mono-tapped land plan also. That was a tongue twister. Which is good for me, but... Oh boy. Oh boy. So, that's a good draw. Let's get a red source. I got some more. Right. Problems. There do be problems, though. Could take the Elspeth Conqueror's Death, which is probably going to land next turn, and it's actually a real problem. So I'm going to take it. Or I could take a Yorion. No, I should probably take the Elspeth Conqueror's Death, because it makes Yorion worse, and they've got 2 Yorions, so. And then I'll Bone Crush the Charming Prince. Don't ask, he deserved it. Prince, yeah. Snow's gonna get offended that I call a Prince he. That's good. Hopefully not, anyway. Right. And then Charming Prince, I assume, which is good. And then if they play the Retreat to Emiria, that's good for me. It's actually an Emiria's call, not a Retreat to Emiria. There's a called card. There's a card called Retreat to Emiria, right? I'm not going insane. Alt tab, Control T, retreat to Emiria. Yes, I was right. I think I have one of those somewhere. Duress. Really pulling its weight here. You'll have to see it. Oh shoot, that's number 5. I should really stop. I'm still like a little bit away from casting Kroxa, or rather like any land away from casting Kroxa. That is 2 Yorions, which is ambitious, but, you know, who am I to judge? Ooh, Skyclave Shade. Huh? What? Why? Who? Where? Those are all questions. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I see why they did that. Because Marchide can attack. Still not sure it's right, but I guess they will be able to reset that next turn. No, they won't, actually. Not unless they have Legend Rule Yorion. If they Baron, bounce Yorion, then what happens? I guess I get to attack. That's what happens. And then I get to cast Kroxa, or Kroxa plus Bone Crusher. Interesting. Hopefully I draw land. The more lands, the better, because of this Castle Lochthwain. And then I'll probably try to burn them out with Kroxas before they hit an Omen of the Sun. That's my long-term plan if my opponent draws well. No, they're going to bounce one of my things. Interesting. I mean, completely expected, but still interesting. Just for the sake of saying interesting. Oh, well. Thank God for Bone Crusher Giants. What can I say? Please don't stifle me. Not stifle. Please don't, I already went over this. What's that card called? How am I struggling? Ooh, nice. Okay, so that's gonna get discarded, or this gonna get discarded. You never know. And then mountain. Yeah, I'll keep a mountain on top. It lets me either Kroxa plus castle or Kroxa plus Bone Crusher, but I also get to play a mountain. Birth of Meletus. Not gonna make a joke about that. Oh, yep. Yeah, that's well, yeah. No, that's bad for me. That's bad. I do not need a Fabled Passage. To be fair, I do get 2 Kroxa. And then Kroxa. Then Birth of Meletus. Probably Meletus, but I'm still gonna call it Meletus. Birth of my lettuce, birth of your lettuce. We all like lettuce. I'm really running out of ideas. My parents are demanding my attention. That's unfortunate. At least they're not barging in like last time. Last time is the reason why there isn't a video uploaded earlier, if you were wondering. Yeah, no, I think I'm actually gonna have to jump block with this. Skyclave Shade can't block. Yeah, it's interesting to see how my opponent decides to get rid of my Kroxa. Good news is, they're gonna be pretty low on life, assuming that Kroxa actually gets to deal them 3 damage. Bad news is, this Thassa is an enormous problem, and it's bothering me. That's how enormous of a problem it is. I hope you're impressed. Interesting to see. Yeah, probably gonna bounce the Kroxa. I'd be surprised if it didn't. Okay. So, I assume that the card in my opponent's hand is a non-land, unfortunately. Or else I'd have lethal. So sad. Myriad's calls just like, honestly, really screwing with me right now. It's annoying. Okay, well, all I need is like straight gas off the top. And then I'll win this match, and I'll be top 100, maybe, and then life will just be alright, but I'm still gonna say great. Now I have to like chump block forever, except I can't chump block forever. And my opponent's going to 5, and I have 2 Kroxa in the graveyard, but no more cards, even though I'm like halfway through my deck. Yeah. That Thassa was an incredible draw. Oh boy. I'm dead next turn. Let's see if I can draw something. Probably not, though. What could I draw? A removal spell that deals 2 to my opponent's face. No, my Skype shit's gonna get bounced. So, like, a Kroxa, but then one that mills. No, I'm dead. I'm just officially dead. You know, I'll draw a card. Will I draw a card? Dead, right? Yeah, tap. Okay, so I'll draw a card. No, I'm still dead. Oh, sad. That almost got me there. +1 life. Oh well. That's that. Lost a grindy match, which is unfortunate. All the way down to 313. I'm an embarrassment to myself and my family. Right. So, that will do it for the games, and that will do it for the video as well. I wrote an article. Feature me here because I stuffed up my outro the first time. So article link will be in the description. You should go check it out. It's on MTGA Zone around the time of the publishing of this video, hopefully. But yeah, it'll be there. You should go check it out. And it'll help you like start out with the deck or continue or whatever. Sideboard guide's a little bit outdated because the meta is shifting fast, but it's mostly fine. So with that being said, there's still one more thing I want to say before I end the video. This video I'm not going to put music, but my first video I did put music in the background, just because I was hoping it would like sort of distract from the bad audio, which I of course apologize for. My microphone needs to be put out of its misery, and there's unfortunately nothing I can do about it at the moment. So if you just let me know, would you prefer no music or yes music? I would appreciate that because I need to do one of them going forward. I want to stay consistent with it, and I don't know which one is better. So if you could let me know, I would appreciate that. That being said, that's it. Finally done with the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe. I would appreciate it. And goodbye.